So here's something you probably haven't seen before, a prototype tablet PC that was developed by Intel back in 2006. It honestly looks like some weird fusion between a tablet and a smartphone, and as it turns out, this is an early engineering sample for the ultra-mobile PC standard that Microsoft and Intel were working on around this time. Now, we've taken a look at one of these machines that did get publicly released. This one here is from Samsung, and these were basically Windows machines that were bigger than a smartphone, but not big enough to be a laptop or a full-size tablet. And this prototype is fascinating to explore because it gives us a glimpse at the early stages of a device category that ultimately never really caught on. So today we're going to check it out and see what it's capable of. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So I gotta give a huge thank you to a viewer out there for trusting me enough to let me borrow this thing for a little while. He goes by the name bishop.gov online, and if you're somebody who's active in the UMPC community, you might have seen his post on Reddit about this device a couple years back, which he told me he wrote after picking this thing up at a flea market for just $20 and was unsure as to what exactly it was. And it seemed to really surprise people in the subreddit, with one person replying that this is the original UMPC prototype developed by Intel that was written about in the tech press and shown off at trade shows to demonstrate this new ultra-mobile PC standard. And naturally, with this being a prototype, it's got a whole bunch of stickers just slapped on the back here. So we've got the device specifications up here, as well as a model number, and it also identifies itself as the pre-release Intel L3M 1804 software development platform, which you know is rare because even Google doesn't know what I'm talking about when you type this in. Its all-knowing AI seems to think I'm mistakenly typing in a CPU model number or something. There's also this web address down here where you could get tech support, but it just goes to a 404 page now, which, I mean, makes sense. This thing's 20 years old, so I highly doubt that would still be online. But it also, unfortunately, has not been archived by the Wayback Machine, likely because very few people even saw this URL in the first place and nobody bothered entering it in. Even if it was archived, though, I'm sure that you would have had to enter, like, a serial number or some login credentials to be able to view whatever is on this page. But it would have been neat, you know, if there was like some support documentation, like a manual or a schematic for this thing. I have none of that. But regardless, this is an incredibly fascinating device to take a look at. And with it being a software development platform, this was likely sent out to software developers who were creating software for the ultra-mobile PC standard. It also could have maybe been used as a reference model for hardware companies to base their designs around. I mean, who's to say, but it's definitely an engineering sample. You've got not for sale or lease, property of Intel, Intel Confidential, as well as your FCC warning label just letting you know that it hasn't been approved yet. All that very typical prototype stuff. Now, there's a couple of ways that you could go about using this device. The first is to kind of hold it like it's an oversized BlackBerry and use your thumbs to type around on the keyboard. You've got a track point down here for moving the mouse pointer around, left and right click buttons, as well as some function keys here. But this is also a touchscreen, so you have a stylus stored down here, and you know, you can tap around on the screen to use it that way if you want. But not only that, the entire screen actually rotates, so you could use it in this orientation as well. Now, this mechanism is very stiff, and I'm honestly like being very careful when I'm moving it. I don't really think it was meant to be rotated back and forth constantly, you know, at least during this early stage. So I mean, you see how stiff, like how long it takes me to do a full rotation there. But yeah, of course, it's a prototype. Stuff like that is going to be expected. Speaking of rotating, you also have a webcam up here that is capable of flipping around to the other side like that, which kind of remind me of these Sony Vaio laptops from the late 90s that I might have to do a video on at some point, but that's a topic for another day. Taking a look at the port selection, on the right side here you have a headphone jack as well as a single USB port. There's also this button for opening up the camera application, and there's this slot here that just has a piece of foam in there, but this is the right size for an SD card, so that very well may have been what this was intended for. Flipping it over to the left side, we have a SIM card slot, because yes, you could have used this thing over cellular. There is a 3G card inside. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And then we have this mystery connector that I'm just calling it that because I don't know exactly what it is. My initial thought was SCSI. It does look kind of like a VHDCI connector, which is used for SCSI drives, but it can be used for other things as well. However, I did post on Blue Sky about this, and some people thought that it was SCSI. Ron from Ron's Computer Videos thought that it was a dock connector of some kind, which I think is very possible. It also could be like a serial connector for debugging, but I think that the dock theory actually makes sense because after taking a closer look at this thing, there's no way to charge the battery. There's not a power port on it at all. So I think that either the battery had to be charged externally, or you would connect a cable to here and connect it to some docking station where you could provide power to it and have it charge the battery that way. So I have no idea what the odds are of a former Intel employee who worked on this thing seeing this video, but if you're out there and you know exactly what this was used for, please let us know in the comments. That would be much appreciated. Now, with this thing being a prototype, it is extremely easy to get inside of it. There's just this little slider up here that you have to pull back, and then you just move the entire back cover down, and it comes right off. And so inside of here, we've got the hard drive. We can actually just bring up the little spec sheet here. So we have our 30 gigabyte Toshiba hard drive. We have what I believe is our wireless adapter, and then right here is the 3G adapter. One thing that is notably missing is the battery. And if we flip this over here, you can see it's not in here either, but we do have this one little part of the battery that has the specifications on it. So this was a Sanyo lithium-ion 1740 milliamp hour battery that I guess was manufactured in 2007, either November 1st or January 11th, depending on what format that date is in. So this is very interesting because, like I said, the dates of this tablet that I found online for those articles and all of that said 2006. So this might have been a newer replacement battery. It could have been that this is just a later iteration of this prototype. I don't believe there were any dates of manufacture on the back here. Let me just take a quick skim over this again. No, there's not really anything I can make out on here, though maybe there's a date code or something. But anyway, the reason why the battery isn't in here is because, according to Bishop, that thing was a spicy pillow when he first got it. So yeah, the battery was pretty bloated, so he cut it out of here. But he did keep the battery control board, and you can see this is where the battery was connected to it. But he just wired on a barrel connector, so you can just, directly power it that way using a transformer, which we are going to do in a moment here. So it just connects to those prongs like that. This does mean we have to run it with the back off because you cannot put it on with these cables coming out of the bottom. And what he was using, which I just got pretty much the exact same thing that he had, he got one of these power adapters that has an adjustable voltage dial, and he recommended keeping it somewhere between 7.8 and 8 volts. So that's what I've done here. And we are just going to wire this up and we'll turn it on. Now, to turn it on, the power switch is right down here, but it did break off. So what he was using is just a pair of tweezers to get in there and flip the power switch that way. So here's a pair of tweezers, and now I just got to go in here and find the little slider and move it to the left. I think I got it right there. There we go. It does run Windows XP, Tablet PC Edition. We'll go ahead and just move the screen out to this orientation, just so that we can use it with the keyboard here. And yeah, so you have an Intel, splash screen there, Phoenix BIOS. We may hop into the BIOS later, we'll see. And yeah, so it boots up Windows XP just fine. There is some noticeable drift on the mouse cursor from the track point here. He mentioned that this is something that can be resolved sometimes with a restart. It kind of seems like it's intermittent. It does it sometimes, other times it doesn't. Now, this is interesting here. We get this pop-up every single time you turn it on that's just letting you know that this is a pre-release piece of hardware, and there's some, agreement that you would have to agree to use this thing. So we'll just press OK. These buttons down here are a little bit, you gotta press them in like a certain area to actually make the click register. And here we are. So you have an Intel wallpaper. It says software development platform down there on the bottom right. Now, not all of the drivers are installed. According to Bishop, he didn't really mess around with this a whole lot. So I've noticed, just in my off-camera testing, that there is a sound driver installed, but the speakers don't output anything. Now, that could be a hardware thing. It could be that there's the wrong driver installed. There are a few drivers stored on the hard drive that we'll see if we can mess around with in a moment. Unfortunately, the camera button on the side here, it will open up this application, but the camera doesn't appear to work, so it doesn't actually display anything. I have also noticed that the keyboard down here, it is nice to type on for the most part, but some of the keys, like the Windows one, you do have to put a little bit more force on it for the press to register. We'll just open up Run here, and I'll get WinVer open. We can just hit R, I think, yeah. And we'll run WinVer, and yeah, all of these, like, I didn't have to press as hard on those as I did on the Windows key. So we'll hit enter. So of course, Tablet PC Edition, it's running Service Pack 2, and I'm gonna go ahead and just adjust the camera a little bit so we can get this zoomed in. Okay, so I've got this set up a little bit better here. I also plugged in a USB keyboard and mouse so that I'm not constantly moving the device around by using the built-in one. And one thing I did as well is I tried to plug in a pair of earbuds to the 3.5 millimeter jack just to see if maybe sound worked over that. The answer is no. So a little Realtek little control panel came up when I did that, and it asked me, like, what did you just plug in? And I went through all that, and still you can see down here there is that, like, do not sign over the... Oh, it's muted! Oh my gosh, that's literally all it was. The thing was muted the whole time. Okay, well that one's on me. So, okay, at least we figured that out. So the sound works. It was just muted this whole time. So built-in speakers work. They're definitely not very loud though. So, okay, we'll close out of that. What I wanted to do for a little bit, of course, we're going to try to experiment and run some games on here. Bishop did tell me that Half-Life works on this. He tested it out, but I do want to take you through the OS a little bit and show you what we have on here. Unfortunately, the answer is not much. Now you see, we still kind of have drifting going on even with the USB mouse plugged in. It actually was worse than this. I went ahead and restarted it and it stopped for a little bit and then it just started up again. So what I want to do is go into Device Manager and see if we can disable the track point temporarily, just so that that stops. So let me find pointing devices. Here we go. So we've got the pen mount USB mouse, I'm guessing, is the one that we want to disable. So we're just gonna go down here and just disable it for now, and we'll see if that does not stop anything. Okay, that's unfortunate. It might be the PS2 compatible mouse then. You know, one of these might be for the touchscreen. Apparently we can't disable that one. Oh, well, it did just stop. Okay. Oh no, now it's kind of going again. Okay, definitely seems intermittent. It kind of stopped for a while. Can we, if we re-enable this one, can we disable the PS2 one? No, we can't. So this cannot be disabled. So this might be the track point. The pen mouse might be referring to the touchscreen. And then this is the mouse that we have plugged in. Just to confirm that, I'll unplug the USB mouse. And we'll let it refresh here. Yep, maybe we can go in Control Panel and mess around with the settings in there, but we'll just kind of deal with it for the time being. But anyways, so yeah, here's Device Manager. Here's the name of the computer. Yeah, so see other devices. We've got camera. It's, you know, no driver installed for that. And for our network adapters, it apparently does not have the proper driver, or the 802.11 wireless card is not working. We'll just leave Device Manager open. We may come back in here later on. Interestingly, in my documents, we have a My eBooks folder. Not a usual thing that you've got in here. So, unfortunately, nothing inside. No documents or anything like that. If we go to my computer, we'll just take a look at the C drive. Of course, this is that 30 gigabyte Toshiba. And you can see here on the side, we'll just bring up the properties anyway, that we are only using 3.9 gigabytes of space. So yeah, definitely not a whole lot on here. In fact, the only thing that I saw, first of all, there is this shortcut to a USB disk that, you know, just obviously doesn't do anything now because we have nothing plugged in. So I guess there was a disk used very frequently with this to where they put a shortcut on the C drive. Kind of a weird place for a shortcut, though, since, you know, if you go to my computer, it'll have the drive in there. Maybe this was just mistakenly added in here somehow. Certainly a possibility. Documents and settings. We do have a few users on here. Admin is the account we're logged into, of course, the administrator account. We also have this one, which I actually have not seen this. So what do we have in here? Is this just the administrator account? Just like a copy of it? Very well might be. Under desktop, we just have Windows Media Player. We do have some Intel links under favorites. There's two Intel folders on the hard drive. The one just labeled Intel has a logs folder, and there's the single Intel chipset log. We have a date of 2008. What is the date currently set to? It thinks it's like midnight. That is wrong. January 2006. Okay, so yeah, the date is definitely off on this thing. And in this folder, the Intel SDP, which I'm assuming stands for Software Development Platform, has the drivers in here. Was there anything in applications? Yeah, okay, just Adobe Acrobat and Media Player 10, so nothing Intel specific. Licenses, we have a driver EULA, chipset EULA. Okay, so these are just the EULAs for the drivers. We do have some wallpapers. So here's the Software Development Platform OEM logo and the logo. I guess one of those is on the desktop here, or, well, here's the, okay, so there's some more wallpapers, because this is the one we currently have. And yeah, down here you've got the Software Development Platform little logo and the Intel Centrino logo. But that's kind of neat. So you have some other wallpapers in here that all have this Software Development Platform branding, and you just have a regular Intel logo. So I wonder, you know, because one of those was labeled OEM logo, if we go into properties, is there? Yes, there is. Okay, check that out. Now, this model number or whatever right here is actually the product code from the back of the case here. Just says genuine Intel processor, 800 megahertz, and then we have the 1 gigabyte of RAM, which, yes, that all corresponds to the back. What does it say for support information? Okay, SDP system hardware support is provided via the Intel Premier Support website. You may request technical assistance from this site, so this is a different link than what is printed on the back of it. Proactive notifications as well as answers to direct questions will be provided from the Intel Premier Support website. If you do not already have a Premier account for this product, go to the web page at, okay, this is the same link that's on the back, so this is where you would have to sign up for support. Complete the information requested during the registration process. Until access is obtained to the Intel Premier website, issues with the hardware can be reported in US and Canada by calling this 1-800 number, pressing 676. Oh god, they were ahead of their time, weren't they? We'll close out of that, and we were in this folder. So last but not least are the drivers. Now, we've confirmed that the audio driver is working. I assume the chipset one is installed. I don't know what Quick Button AP is. Maybe this is installed, maybe it's not. Quanta hotkey. Okay, now Quanta was the manufacturer of at least some of this hardware. So this might be, maybe it's for this button here. Bishop told me that this, I think, opens up the... Oh, that just looks like it changed resolutions. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Because, okay, please touch the blue point. Interesting. So now it's opened up a calibration tool. Let me get the stylus out of here. And I guess we'll have to calibrate the... okay, just do that one time. Now, judging from what the symbol is here, it almost looks like that this was supposed to change the orientation, so that, like, if you had the screen closed over the keyboard, you could use it, like, in portrait, but the screen does not auto-rotate when you move this thing back and forth, so maybe this is what that's normally supposed to do, but it's not configured that way right now. But anyway, the touchscreen driver, I mean, works. I guess while we have the stylus out, I can show you. I can touch the screen, and yeah, so that works normally. And then you have QCam, which is the, well, there's actually nothing in here, but I'm assuming that's the camera software that, again, we can get access to with this on the side. Go ahead and press that button. Although now it's not opening up. Huh. That literally just stopped working. Well, that sure is weird, but yeah, there's not anything in here. Maybe there was like an install file or something. And then under program files, We have, of course, okay, like ink balls, so some of the tablet PC stuff. We should have all of that stuff anyway if we go into the start menu. But I guess I'll show you in here what we have. It is mostly just standard stuff. Here's the tablet PC folder. You saw the Adobe Reader installer. We've got that on here. This is the camera program, I think. We just have an uninstall thing there. No program to open up. We have a pen mount monitor application in the startup folder. Print Me Internet Printing, pen mounts. We have a control panel and that same monitor program that was under startup, under games, all that's standard, and under accessories, all of this is standard. So what is the control panel? Let's see what we have here. So it's recognized the device, multiple monitor support. Okay, that's kind of neat. And we have some tools so you can do calibration and all that. And here's the support information for that. So yeah, I suppose we could configure this if we want to and calibrate it. But the touchscreen seems to be working fine. I mean, when I was using this off camera, it is, you know, pretty well calibrated. So we can, you know, go here and, I mean, is there a thing, can we hold on the desktop to get to right click? Yeah, so we can do that. Touchscreen works totally fine. So yeah, that is everything that is on. I mean, let's just verify that hidden files are, I think we saw some hidden files. Yeah, so hidden files are on. Do they have, oh, they're hiding extensions for known file types. We definitely want to get that off. There's not really a whole lot in terms of documentation on here. That would have been really cool to be able to see, you know, if there were like some, you know, some sort of like development stuff on here that we could look at. But yeah, not the case. Nothing really exciting on the desktop. These wallpapers are kind of cool though. I guess I could archive those if they haven't been published already. Well, we've made it to that point in the video where I have to go into a whole long-winded explanation about a bunch of things that transpired over the past few days, because, oh my gosh, nothing can ever frickin' go right on this channel, I swear. It is insane to me. We were getting to that point in the episode where it was like, yeah, you know, we're gonna copy over Half-Life to this, play some games, have a little fun messing around with this, and guess what? The frickin' hard drive just died. And I don't just mean that, oh, it's being really slow, or it sounds like it's clicking in here. No, completely, utterly, out of nowhere, dead. When you try to boot from it now, it gives a disk read error, and I tried plugging this into some other systems. None of them can read anything on it. My Windows 10 system back here will recognize it, but Windows Explorer will just hang if you try to go into the drive, and I can't even open anything like Crystal Disk Mark to view the smart info on this drive. I can't run a smart test through some other tools that I've tried on another system. So I don't know what the odds are for complete sudden disk failure, but it happened to me, and of course it has to happen on this drive that was in a rare, possibly one-of-a-kind prototype that we don't have a backup of. I did not make a backup of this prior to recording, and when I was talking with Bishop about this over email, he didn't make a backup of it either. I just feel really terrible about this. Bishop told me not to worry about it. I mean, I think that this was inevitable. This drive would have failed eventually. Gosh, man, it just frickin' sucks. Like, I feel so bad about this. Now, what I was able to do to kind of salvage this whole thing a little bit is, well, first of all, I had a replacement drive lying around, one of these 1.8-inch drives. So I put that in here. This is actually the exact same size as this one. It's another 30 gig drive, but this is a Samsung drive instead of a Toshiba one, so it's not like the original part. Now, fortunately, the hard disk swap was pretty easy to do. You don't even have to remove this entire back plate. Bishop gave me permission to do that, but I wanted to avoid it as much as possible. But the drive, you just have to remove these 4 screws here, and obviously, you know, take out the card here as well, and then the drive pops out. You put the new one in, connect it to the cable, and put the screws back in, and you're all good to go. And so then I just went ahead and installed XP Tablet PC Edition on it. And then I looked back at the footage that I already recorded, and if you remember, there was that drivers folder on the old hard drive that had all those subfolders in it with the name and the version number of the respective driver. And fortunately, they were all just, you know, regular drivers that were released for other systems. So I was able to get the chipset drivers, the video, the sound, and the touchscreen working properly as well. In fact, that same pen mount program is in here, so we can go into the control panel, and it's recognized the pen mount 6000 USB. And, you know, we can configure it and do all that stuff from here. So we have the same program installed. I also added some files in System32 that will modify the system properties dialog to give us the same exact info that we had before. I retyped out all of the support information from the footage that I had. And then this is just a screenshot from my videos because I could not find this exact image anywhere. I could, you know, recreate it. Maybe I will do that and try to find like this exact font that was used before I send it back to Bishop. So yeah, I've tried to set this back up as close to the original configuration as I possibly can. Unfortunately, the one thing that we're missing is the default wallpaper, that custom Intel one that we saw earlier. I could not find a copy of that online anywhere. I did a reverse image search just with a screenshot that I grabbed of it from my video, and Google did not return any matches. I mean, it obviously recognized that it was like an Intel wallpaper because it said Intel, but it appears that that wallpaper, and I'm assuming those other ones as well that were in that wallpapers folder, were not released publicly. They were like used on internal Intel hardware and stuff they would send to their partners. So yeah, that's the only real bad news. I am going to try, and I did get permission from Bishop to do this, but I was going to see about sending the old drive into a professional data recovery place to see if anything on this can be salvageable, because I would like to get as much off of this as we can. Even though that, you know, it seems like the only stuff unique to this were the wallpapers, obviously the way the OS was configured, and I think there were a couple of those drivers. I mean, there were some that I couldn't find. I mean, the camera didn't work even on the old configuration. I can't get that working now, and this button over here currently does not do anything, whereas before it did change the screen resolution. And so I think there was a tool on there that like handled all of that, but I wasn't able to find a copy of that. So I'm hoping that there is a chance that we can get some data off this drive if I send it in somewhere. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at doing, and I'm definitely open to hearing suggestions because I have not used any professional data recovery services before in the past. So if anybody out there has some experience with them or perhaps some recommendations, please feel free to leave those down in the comments. But I guess going forward, I'm going to think twice about copying Half-Life over to hard drives on computers that I get, because evidently this one did not like that. But I did get it successfully copied over to this one, so now is the point in the video where we're going to try to play Half-Life, and I'm going to do it purely by holding the thing like this and trying to... I can actually just unplug the USB cable here because we don't need this hub for anything. But yeah, we're going to see how doable that this is. So let's run hl.exe. We are going to continue and ignore the compatibility message. And oh yeah, oh geez, we gotta type in the key. I always forget about this. Oh, and we're getting the drifting. We're getting the drifting already. It is a very slow drift to the left, but we are getting the drifting. So, okay, frame rate looks good. The mouse sensitivity is definitely something. Playing this with a frickin' track point, man. Oh my gosh, like why would you ever subject yourself to this? So, yeah, here we are. We can move around. We can look around. All seems to be fine. It's just play. This is gonna be something. So let's head in here. Let's get our HEV suit. If I can look up this way. There we go.
Moving around in your HEV suit can be slightly disorienting at first.
Oh, yeah, it can be pretty disorienting, especially when you're playing on a frickin' small screen with a track point and a, you know, tiny little keyboard like this. But honestly, like, I think I could kind of get used to this. Is that crazy to say? I mean, maybe, well, I'm not in, like, combat or anything yet, because, yeah, you have to click down here to fire. Like, yeah, no, there's no way that I could actually get used to this. But here's the next world record, you know, any percent that I would want to see from someone is playing Half-Life on something like this and see how long it takes them to to go through. I mean, look at this. Like, look, you have to... No, I don't want to go this way. Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. And we jump over there. Perfect. Well, I think you guys get the gist of it. That is a little bit of half-life on this thing, so at least we were able to have some fun. And I think that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this video on this really wacky prototype that is just so fascinating to see. And again, the whole situation with the hard drive does suck, and I do feel really bad about this, and I do want to thank Bishop for not only sending me this thing, but for being incredibly understanding about, you know, when I told him that the drive just failed. But yeah, hopefully we will be able to salvage some stuff off of here through a professional data recovery service or some other means. Again, if anybody out there has any suggestions, feel free to let me know down in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up and get subscribed down below. And as always, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.